Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a first perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, are the Clippers starting to become a real threat these playoffs? So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, make sure you go ahead and check out Dreamerspro Max, an online sports community, place where you can start basketball discussions, chat live during games that we've been doing all throughout the playoffs, and so many other cool things. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to check that out. We have that linked in the description below. And also make sure you go ahead and click the join button to join the channel to receive loyalty badges from our channel. So anyway, let me get into this topic here. So going into these playoffs, I think the Clippers were one of those teams out there, if I have to think about it, that no one really expected anything from. Let's just be honest, right? It was only a few people that expected anything from the Clippers. How do I know this? Because towards the end of the season, if you guys remember, the Clippers were accused of being a mentally weak team. Do you guys remember when the Clippers were being accused of dodging the Lakers? Y'all remember that story? Oh, the Clippers, they ran away from the Lakers. They were trying to avoid the Lakers. All of these different things just to end up facing the Dallas Mavericks in round one and potentially facing the best team in the NBA as far as record in the other side of the bracket. These are the things that people were saying about them. They were saying they were afraid of the Lakers. People like Nick Wright were laughing at they laughed at the Clippers during the when they went in the beginning of the season when they were able to pick up Nicholas Batum. And all throughout the first round of the playoffs in round one, all you heard of was people, these guys aren't serious. They're not showing me anything. They're not proving anything to me. I think they're going to lose X, Y, and Z, right? And everyone just seemed to count them out. Even at one point, Skip Bayless, he started to waver. But to be fair, going into the playoffs, Skip Bayless was the only person that I heard in big media that definitively came out and said, I think the Clippers are going to win it all. He is the only person I heard of all the people that on TV that came out there and said they're going to win it all. I never heard Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, none of them said that. It was only after the Clippers are able to win Game 6 and Game 7 in round one, where people were like, okay, this team could be pretty good. It was only after Kawhi Leonard scored that 45 that people like, and I was saying to myself, is it that people don't know? Like, maybe it's just me. Is it that people don't know that this guy is really good? It seems like the only person that really understands Kawhi Leonard and how good he is, I think, is Max Kellerman. Max Kellerman seems to be the only one that truly understands the value that Kawhi Leonard brings to a championship team. Right? Now, other players that give him lip service. Oh, Kawhi Leonard is a great player. He's a great player. But they don't really, the praise that they're willing to heap on other players like Donovan Mitchell and all these other players, they're not willing to heap those same praises on Kawhi Leonard because he failed in the playoffs last year. But they make it seem like as if Kawhi Leonard is the only player that's failed in the playoffs, right? So when they went into round two, almost everyone picked the Jazz, with the exception of Skip Bayless. Hell, Shannon Sharp said he picked the Jazz to beat them in 5. Lost some Mountain Dew on that, I guess, but people were picking against the Clippers, right? They were picking against the Clippers, and the only one that I heard going into round two that said the Clippers are going to win in 6 games was Skip Bayless. Now, after Game 1 and Game 2 in this series, after it started, after those 2 games were played, I had a feeling, I had a sense to myself, and I was asking people on Dreamerspro Max, I was saying to myself, I'm like, are the Clippers the better team here? Because in Game 1, they had just come off of a long 7-game series. A day later, 2 days later, they had to turn around, fly to Utah, and go play the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, who had like, I think, 5-6 days off in a row, rest. Went in there and almost had an opportunity to hit a game-tying shot to take that thing into overtime. And I'm like, but how is this team even in this game? How did they even pull it this close? Then the next game, the Clippers find themselves down in that game, and then they rally back in the fourth quarter to take a 1-point lead. And then at the end of the game, they missed 9 straight shots. And I said to myself, and they had some really good looks. And I said to myself, these Clippers have an opportunity. They had a good opportunity, a good chance to beat this team. They only lost to them by single digits. And I was saying to myself, are the Clippers better than this team? This is what I was thinking to myself. Then the series shifted to LA. And then Paul George started to take over. Paul George started to play like the all-star that he is. And since that point, the Clippers have been in full control. Every single game that the Clippers have played the Utah Jazz in LA, they've beaten them by at least 10 points. Game 1, they beat them by like 20 plus points. Game 2, they beat them by 14 points. It wasn't even close. They were beating them so bad. It got so bad that people now started asking, where's Mike Conley? The Jazz need Mike Conley. They need Mike Conley. They're desperate without Mike Conley. And I was listening to Shaq and these guys talk about it yesterday during the halftime. And Charles Barkley started crying about Mike Conley. And Shaq was like, man, please. Why did Shaq say that? Did Shaquille O'Neal say that because Mike Conley is not a great player? No. He said it because it's like, wait a minute, you guys are making excuses. Going into this series, Mike Conley was unhealthy. Everyone picked the Jazz to win. After game 1 and game 2, I didn't hear a mumbling word about Mike Conley. It was only after they started losing, and then it's like, okay, where's Mike Conley? We need Mike. So my question is, which is it? Is it that the Jazz, in fact, are not good enough to beat the Clippers without Mike Conley, or they are? Because when they beat them, people were picking the Jazz. Shannon Sharp was picking them in 5 games. The minute they lose, now they need Mike Conley. So which one is it? Are they better? Last time I checked, the Clippers are missing a starter, and Serge Ibaka, he's gone for the season, and I'm not even bringing him up. I don't even bring up any of the injured Clippers players. But over these last 2 games, the Clippers have just completely destroyed the Utah Jazz. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have outclassed them, with the exception of Donovan Mitchell. They have no answer for him. This is the reason why in a lot of our analysis, I laugh at people because I say to myself, you guys are analyzing the game. You only have a one-sided analysis. They're talking about what Donovan Mitchell and all these guys are going to do. Fine. We grant you that. But you don't talk about what your opponent is going to do. People are sitting up there talking about Donovan Mitchell, the next superstar, the next better than Karl Malone, all these different things. But Kawhi Leonard has dropped 30-plus points on them in the last 2 games. Paul George has dropped 30-plus points on them in the last 2 games. These 2 guys have scored 65 and 62 points over the last 2 games. No one is talking about this. It's like, okay, well, it's almost like as if it's not happening. Oh, it's not real. Like, oh, that happened, but it's not real. And I think people are going to slowly have to reach the realization that the Clippers are the deepest team in the NBA right now, at least in the playoffs. There's no question in my mind that they are the most mentally toughest team of all the remaining teams in the NBA. I don't care who you bring up. Bring anyone. Bring the Bucks, bring the Nets, bring who else? Bring the Suns, bring the Jazz, bring the Philadelphia 76ers. They are the mentally toughest team of all of the remaining teams that are currently playing. And I don't even think it's close, quite honest. I haven't seen the Clippers get blown out in any single game these playoffs. Not one. They fought back in every single game. No one ever. They've lost before. They lost 3 games in the first round 1, but no one said they got embarrassed. Even the first 2 games in Utah in which they lost by single digits. This team has fight, and people. I don't know when people are going to wake up. Maybe people will realize that the Clippers are good during their parade. Then they'll say, "Oh man, this team is really good." And I feel like Kawhi Leonard is only going to get his just due after he wins his title, not before. Kawhi Leonard can help take this team to the finals, and nobody's going to be talking. All they're going to do is keep shifting the goalpost. This round the first round it was Luka Doncic better than Kawhi. Then now it's Donovan Mitchell is better than Kawhi. Then if they get to the next round, it's going to be, is Devin Booker better than Kawhi? And then they get to the finals, is KD or is Giannis? That's the story of these guys. So for me, I think they're a serious threat. And I've also realized, whether people want to believe it or not, they're real. I think a lot of people want to close their eyes and wish them away. This team is real. Donovan Mitchell that said, oh, they're going to quit. If you give it, they're going to quit. Well, sure looked like to me the Jazz quit in game 3 and game 4. Clippers lost by single digits in Utah. I can't say the same about the Jazz. In LA, look like they quit in game 3 and game 4. I don't know about you. Threw in the white flag in game 4 in the 4th quarter. Like we don't want any more of these guys. So I don't know what that says about the Clippers and what that says about the Jazz. But listen, this team is a real threat, and people better wake up to it. What I want to know from you guys is, do you think this is a real threat, or do you think this is just a figment of your imagination? And this is not really happening. Like, you're not really seeing this. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, it's just Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day, and catch you guys on the next episode.